are enough. Yes, you heard that right. You are more than enough. Imagine a world where everyone is trying to fit into a predefined mold. A world where individuality is lost in the overwhelming wave of conformity. This is the world many of us live in. But there's a secret that this world doesn't want you to know. The secret is, you don't have to fit in to be accepted. You don't have to change who you are to be loved. You don't have to dummy down your personality, your dreams, and your ambitions to satisfy someone else's idea of who you should be. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who spent his whole life trying to fit in. He changed his clothes, his speech, his interests, everything about himself to be accepted by those around him. He was so focused on trying to be someone else that he lost sight of who he really was. But one day, he had an epiphany. He realized that he was not living his life, but a life dictated by others. That's when he decided to embrace his uniqueness, his individuality. And you know what happened? He found true happiness. He found success. Not because he was trying to be someone else, but because he was being himself. His uniqueness, his individuality, those were his strengths. Those were what made him stand out in a crowd. This is the power within you, the power to be yourself, the power to embrace your uniqueness, the power to not give in to the pressure of conformity, the power to not just exist, but to live a life that is authentically and unapologetically yours. So let go of the idea that you need to be someone else to be accepted. Let go of the notion that you need to change who you are to be loved. You are enough just as you are. You are unique. You are special. You are powerful. And remember, in the grand scheme of life, being yourself is your greatest power. You don't have to out-petty someone to prove your worth. Instead, outclass them. Picture this. Once there was a person named Legend. Now, Legend found himself constantly embroiled in petty squabbles and trivial disputes. It seemed as if every interaction was an opportunity for an argument, a battle of egos, a chance to prove who was superior. But one day, Legend decided he had enough. He chose not to engage in the pettiness anymore, not to let himself be dragged into the mud of meaningless conflict. He began to rise above the pettiness, to float above the small-minded disputes that once consumed him. He chose to respond with grace, with class, with dignity. Instead of trading barbs, he traded in understanding. Instead of retaliating, he chose to remain calm and composed. He chose to outclass, not out-petty. And what happened next? Legend found peace. He discovered the tranquility that comes with letting go of the need to always be right, to always have the last word. His relationships improved, his stress levels decreased, and he began to enjoy life in a way he never had before. But that's not all. Legend's decision to rise above the pettiness, to act with class and dignity, earned him respect. People began to see him in a new light, to admire him for his restraint, his calmness, his maturity. He became a role model, a beacon of grace in a world often filled with pettiness and conflict. So, what can we learn from Legend's story? It's simple. We don't have to engage in petty arguments or disputes to prove our worth. We don't have to sink to the level of those who would drag us down. We can choose to rise above the pettiness, to act with class and dignity. We can choose to be better. Rather than sinking to their level, challenge them to rise to yours. Scene script. Let go of others' perceptions. You are not a mirror reflecting what others want to see. Imagine a bird, a beautiful, vibrant bird, caged and confined by the expectations of those around it. This bird, let's call it Phoenix, was fed a constant diet of opinions, judgments, and expectations. It was told, "You're a bird. You're meant to fly, but only so high, only so far." The cage, though unseen, was as real as the bars that enclosed the mightiest of lions in a zoo. Phoenix, however, harbored a fire within, a fire that refused to be quenched by the dampening voices of the world. It yearned for the sky, for the boundless expanse, for the freedom to be. Phoenix was not content with just existing. It wanted to live, it wanted to soar. One day, Phoenix decided to defy the unwritten rules, the unsaid expectations, and the unexpressed judgments. It decided to break free from the invisible cage that held it captive. It decided to fly, not according to the limits set by others, but by the strength of its wings and the courage of its heart. It decided to rise, not to please others, but to satisfy its own desire for freedom. And so, Phoenix took flight. It soared higher and higher, breaking through the barriers of doubts and fears. It danced amidst the clouds, it kissed the sun, it embraced the wind, and it found its freedom. It found its truth. Phoenix was not a reflection of others' expectations anymore. It was a testament to its own strength, its own resilience, and its own determination. It was no longer a bird confined by a cage, but a bird that owned the sky. Just like Phoenix, you too can break free from the cage of others' perceptions. You too can rise above the expectations and judgments. You too can embrace your truth, your passion, your dreams. You are not defined by what others want you to be. You are defined by who you choose to be. You are the artist of your life. Don't hand the paintbrush to anyone else. Love yourself for who you are and where you are at this moment. Ponder upon these words. They tell a tale of an individual who once grappled with the mirror's reflection, whose self-worth was tied to scales and unrealistic standards. This is a tale of transformation, not of the physical, but the emotional and mental. A tale of self-acceptance and self-love. There was once a person, let's call her Wisdom. Wisdom was caught in a whirlwind of self-doubt and judgment. Every glance in the mirror was a battle, every photo a war. Wisdom believed she was not enough, not good enough, not attractive enough, not worthy enough. She lived in a world where worth was measured in waistlines and beauty in blemishes or the lack thereof. But one day, Wisdom stumbled upon a truth as old as time, yet as fresh as the morning dew. She realized that worth was not determined by superficial standards. She understood that beauty was not something to be achieved, but something to be realized. And so, Wisdom started on a journey of self-love and acceptance. She stopped seeking validation from others, stopped comparing herself to airbrushed images on glossy pages. She started looking into the mirror with love, not judgment. She started celebrating her body for its strength and resilience, not condemning it for its perceived flaws. Wisdom found joy in her skin, not because it was flawless, but because it was hers. She found confidence not in the approval of others, but in her self-love. She discovered that beauty was not a destination, but a journey that starts and ends with self-acceptance. Today, Wisdom stands tall, not because she fits into societal norms, but because she broke free from them. She radiates beauty, not because she transformed her body, but because she transformed her mindset. This is the power of self-love and acceptance. This is the power of embracing your own skin. And remember, your beauty is not defined by others, but by you. Your worth is not determined by scales or mirrors, but by your heart and soul. You are beautiful, just the way you are. Hey, you out there, it's your turn. Say this with me. I am here and I belong here. I am enough and I have always been enough. Imagine for a moment a man named John. John was always the type of person who felt the need to compete with everyone around him. He was always comparing himself to others, constantly pushing himself to keep up with the Joneses. He thought that by doing so, he was proving his worth. But over time, John started to realize that this constant competition wasn't bringing him any happiness. Instead, it was sucking the joy out of his life. He was always stressed, always worried about what others were doing, and he was never able to enjoy his own achievements because he was too focused on what everyone else was accomplishing. Then one day, John decided to take a step back. He started focusing on his own journey, on his own growth. He stopped comparing himself to others and started appreciating his own achievements. And do you know what happened? He discovered a joy that he had never known before. He found a peace that he had never felt before. He started to understand that he didn't need to keep up with anyone else to prove his worth. He was enough just as he was. John's story is a reminder that we don't need to compete with others to feel valuable. Our worth isn't determined by how we stack up against others, but by our own journey, our own growth, and our own accomplishments. There's a unique joy that comes from being content with who you are. It's a joy that isn't dependent on what others are doing or what they think of you. It's a joy that comes from within, from recognizing your own worth and embracing your own journey. So let's learn from John. Let's stop comparing ourselves to others and start celebrating our own journey. Let's find joy in being ourselves, in being unique, in being enough. Being content with being you, that's where true happiness lies. Remember, you are enough. Now repeat after me, I am enough. Say it again, I am enough.